Hey guys, today we're making a Peacock Gudgeon breeding tank. I currently have my Peacock Gudgeons in with some guppies, and I've noticed that when they're in breeding mode, they do get a little bit nippy. So I want to pop them in a tank or by themselves. Now, although I am breeding these fish, I do like my tanks to be aesthetically pleasing. So although it is a functional tank, I do want to plant it out as well and do a little bit of an aquascape. So let's get started. To start, we're going to add in our nutrient-rich base layer, which I mix up with fine sand, some pea gravel and some aqua soil. And then we're going to cap it with black sand. We have our base layer and our cap layer in. We're going to add in our hardscape. Now I have a couple of rocks here, about 3 that I'm going to use. I really like to take my time with this, try different positions for the rocks, see what I like. You know, I think when building tanks, don't be in a rush, like really have a look at what you find pleasing, because there's no really wrong answer, nature is nature. Keep that in mind, don't overthink it, just try things. So the Peacock Gudgeons, they actually spawn in caves. I'm adding in 2 caves for him to choose from. Now he's been in another tank with these caves and he chose both these styles, so hopefully he will like them. But he's spawned in these before, so I have high hopes. These are the fry that these guys have produced for me. They've been really great. I've probably gotten a batch every 2 weeks or so. They are extremely small when they first come out. So what happens is the male and female will spawn within a cave. She will leave, then he will look after the eggs. They take about 10 days to become free swimming fish. So I'll take the whole cave out and pop an air stone in it. Once they've started free swimming, I then feed them Infusoria. I just pop them in a hang-on container just in front of the tank that they were spawned in. And I do daily water changes. Now I'll do 50% twice a day, so it's 100% water changes, just because there's no filter on this container, so I want to make sure it's as clean as possible. And I have some Saucertang and some Java moss in there with them, and I'll keep them there basically until they're on brine shrimp. Once they're on brine shrimp, I will then pop them in a little grow out with a filter. So these guys are about 2 weeks old, and they're swimming around absolutely fine. I've actually found them really easy to raise. I feed them 3 times a day, once in the morning, once when I get home from work, and once before I go to bed. Having a really good time raising them too, so I definitely think this fish is a great fish. Alright, now that I've got the hardscape as I like it, I want to add in some detail stones. I have this mixed gravel that I'm going to use. It has got a little bit of a contrast. I honestly would have liked it a little more if it was a bit more grey and matched the rocks that I've popped in. But this is what we have and this is what we're going to use. So basically I just like to pop them around the rocks like they've collected there in a current or something. I find that looks really good. I don't think too much about it though. I just sort of drop them in, let them fall where they fall, and you know, mess the sand up a little bit and see if I can get a good placement. Alright, so time for planting. It's the best bit. So I'm going to start with some foreground plants. These guys are a running plant. They are a broadleaf chainsword. I did buy these as a tissue culture plant by Reservoir Aquatics. I actually really like these tissue cultures. They are very high quality, so if you can get your hands on them, definitely do so. One of the great things about Reservoir Aquatics is that they actually culture them in a water culture, so it's not a gel culture, which means that you're going to get minimal melt back when you do pop them in your tank. That's one of the big reasons why I like Reservoir Aquatic tissue cultures. They do stock a lot of local fish shops here in Melbourne, Australia, so definitely check them out. The next one that I'm planting is Alternanthera Reneki Mini, also known as AR Mini, because I feel like no one can say the name of this plant. So this is quite a beautiful plant. It is very, very red. In this build, this plant's coming off very, very pink, which I think makes it look fake. But I'm hoping with the lighting that I have over this tank that it will redden up a little bit, make it a little darker. All right, next I'm going to pop in some stem plants. I really wanted to fill the back up with the stem plants, so once they grow I'll get a really nice green wall at the back. I'm using quite a few different ones to create more texture in the back wall. So I've got different kinds of leaves, things like that, just to put a little bit more interest in the background. I actually decided to move one of the AR minis from the middle there, and I decided to put in a focal point plant, which is just this small Amazon sword. Really quite lovely. It took me a while, this sword, because it was grown immersed, which means that once I did actually put it in a tank, it did melt back heavily. So I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather buy plants that have been in a tanks for a while. So this one I actually kept in the pot for a while in another tank and just let it melt back, let it regrow. And now that we're at this point, these are all new leaves that have been grown out of, grown in water in my tanks. So I think it's going to grow really nicely. Now before I planted it, I put a root tab in there. Next I popped in some Java fern because I can't help myself and I've got heaps of it. Spray the plants down just while I'm working so I can keep going. Just gives us a little bit more working time. And then finally I just tucked in some Java moss just in a gap there that I found, just because I didn't want it floating, but because I've tucked it in there and it's sort of stuck, it'll grow up the rock, which is perfect. And I'm going to pop a filter in the back here, just a normal sponge filter. That's what I use for all my tanks. I know it's not the perfect Aquascape filter, but it's what I've got going and I'm breeding a lot, so it's, to me, I'm not bothered. But yeah, it looks really jungly now and I'm very happy with that. So it's time to put this tank where it is going to live, because it is going up on the top shelf. So I like to do my scapes in an easy to reach place. I feel like that's very logical. And then move it up. I did end up getting Mr. Finfinity to help me out. He popped it up there and now we get to fill it. So it's been about 24 hours since we set up the tank. I just did a water test. It's come out perfect because I did use a seeded filter sponge, and I also used a lot of other items in there that were from other tanks, so there was heaps of beneficial bacteria available in this tank. Now I've just got my pair of Peacock Gudgeons sitting in the container up here. They've just been acclimating, so time to release them. So I'm really happy with the way the tank turned out. I think it looks great. I can't wait for more of the plants to grow in and carpet the bottom. These guys are a really fun fish to breed. I highly recommend them to anyone who's just starting out, especially as beginners, because I think it's a great fish to cut your teeth on. And they are a beautiful fish as well. So yeah, my Peacock Gudgeon breeding tank. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and catch you on the next one.